Is this on? Yeah, here we go. Good morning. Let's begin by waving to our Zoomy friends, and Zoomy friends, wave to the roomies. Good morning. Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lynchburg. Here we gather in a spirit of freedom and friendship. Whoever you are, whatever your beliefs, whatever your age, whatever your gender identity, and whoever you love, you are welcome here. As we work together for justice, compassion, and peace, we also acknowledge with humility that our buildings sit on Monacan land. My name is Kim Sinna. I've been a member of this congregation for about 20 years. If you are with us for the first time, we are glad you chose to be here this morning to participate in the service for this church community that we love. We would be happy to tell you more about our community during virtual social time on Zoom or in person in Drysdale Hall following the service. If you would like to receive our monthly newsletter and Friday email updates, you can fill out one of the yellow cards in a pocket in the back of the seat in front of you and drop it in the offering basket. If you're joining us by Zoom, please fill out the contact form found on the home page on our website, uulynchburg.org. You may also wish to join our Facebook group. For those of you on Zoom, please note that the order of service is in the chat to the right of the screen if you're using a personal computer. If you're using a phone, the link is at the bottom of your screen. Today's music selections are courtesy of Finis Southworth, winner of the service auction. Thank you, Finis. And I must say, I agree with his selections. Green Sleeves is one of my favorite songs. So thank you, Emily, and it was beautifully done. All right, lighting of the chat list.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, man. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you. We'll bring some energy into this beautiful, wonderful space and morning. My name is Ellen Plummer, and it's my privilege to serve this congregation as your intern minister. And as we establish our sacred space this morning, as we gather and arrive, I am going to invite us to light the chalice, our chalice, and to say the words together that are on our screen and in our order of service. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of life. Our opening words this morning are a poem written by Terry Kirby Erickson, and the name of this poem is What Matters. What other people think of you, what they say, are burdens no one should carry. Lift a spoon, a cup, things that fit in your hand. Carry on a conversation, pick up a baby. Listen to the wind when it whispers, nothing else. There is no one watching you, no one straining to hear what you say. The present has arrived, and you are in it. Your heart is pumping, your breath moves in and out of your lungs without anyone's help or their permission. Let go of everything else. Let your life, handed to you through no effort of your own, be all the proof you need. Be all the proof you need that you are loved. I invite us now to rise in body or in spirit, and let's sing hymn number 100, I've Got Peace Like a River.
All right, I'd like to invite all the young ones and young at heart to join me down front for a story. And today's story comes to us by recommendation from the Sunday Services Committee, which is so exciting. We love having helpers pick out our stories and our things that we talk about. So Ellen has been talking to the grown-ups about 4 big questions. And so our book today is going to be about 3 questions. Let's find out what they are. There once was a boy named Nikolai who sometimes felt uncertain about the right way to act. I want to be a good person, he told his friends, but I don't always know the best way to do that. Nikolai's friends understood and they wanted to help him. If only I could find the answers to my 3 questions, Nikolai continued, then I would always know what to do. When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? What is the right thing to do? Nikolai's friends considered his first question. Then Sonia, the heron, spoke. To know the best time to do things, one must plan in advance, she said. Gogol, the monkey, who had been rooting through some leaves to find something good to eat, said, you will know when to do things if you watch and pay close attention. Then Pushkin, the dog who was just dozing off, rolled over and said, you can't pay attention to everything yourself. You need a pack to keep watch and help you decide when to do things. For example, Gogol, a coconut, is about to fall on your head. There's the coconut. Look up, Gogol. Nikolai thought for a moment. Then he asked his second question. Who is the most important one? Those who are closest to heaven, said Sonia, circling up into the sky. Those who know how to heal the sick, said Gogol, stroking his bruised head. Those who make the rules, growled Pushkin. Nikolai thought some more. Then he asked the third question. What is the right thing to do? Flying, said Sonia. Having fun all the time, laughed Gogol. Fighting, barked Pushkin right away. Then the boy thought for a long while. He loved his friends. He knew they were all trying their best to help him answer his questions, but their answers didn't seem quite right to him. Then an idea came to him. I know, he thought. I will ask Leo the turtle. He has lived a very long time. Surely he will know the answers I am looking for. Nikolai hiked high up into the mountains where the old turtle lived all alone. When Nikolai arrived, he found Leo digging a garden. The turtle was old and digging was hard for him. I have 3 questions and I came to ask your help, Nikolai said. When is the best time to do things? Who is the most important one? What is the right thing to do? Leo listened carefully, but he only smiled. Then he went on with his digging. You must be tired, Nikolai said at last. Let me help you. The turtle gave him his shovel and thanked him. And because it was easier for a young boy to dig than it was for an old turtle, Nikolai kept on digging until the rows were finished. But just as he finished, the wind blew wildly and rain burst from the darkened clouds. As they moved toward the cottage for shelter, Nikolai suddenly heard a cry for help. Running down the path, he found a panda whose leg had been injured by a fallen tree. Carefully, Nikolai carried her into Leo's house and made a splint for her leg with a stick of bamboo. The storm raged on, banging at the doors and windows. The panda woke up. Where am I? She said. And where is my child? The boy ran out of the cottage and down the path. The roar of the storm was deafening. Pushing against the howling wind and drenching rain, he ran farther into the forest. There, he found the panda's child, cold and shivering on the ground. The little panda was wet and scared, but alive. Nikolai carried her inside and made her warm and dry. Then he laid her in her mother's arms. Leo smiled when he saw what the boy had done. The next morning, the sun was warm, birds sang, and all was well with the world. The panda's leg was healing nicely, and she thanked Nikolai for saving her and her baby from the storm. At that moment, Sonia, Gogol, and Pushkin arrived to make sure everyone was all right. Nikolai felt great peace within himself. He had wonderful friends, and he had saved the panda and her child. But he also felt disappointed. He still had not found the answers to his 3 questions. So he asked Leo one more time. The old turtle looked at the boy. But your questions have been answered, he said. They have? Asked Nikolai. Yesterday, if you had not stayed to help me dig my garden, you wouldn't have heard the panda's cries for help in the storm. Therefore, the most important time was the time you spent digging in the garden. The most important one at that moment was me, and the most important thing to do was to help me with my garden. Later, when you found the injured panda, the most important time was the time you spent mending her leg and saving her child. The most important ones were the panda and her baby. And the most important thing to do was to take care of them and make them safe. Remember then that there is only one important time, and that time is now. The most important one is always the one you are with. And the most important thing is to do good for the one who is standing at your side. For these, my dear boy, are the answers to what is most important in this world. This is why we are here. Wasn't that a good story? Yeah. So Nikolai had a lot of questions about the world. Not a lot of questions, but some very important questions about the way the world works. Yeah. What did you think about? Have you ever thought about those things? No?
But why does he have a kite almost in every picture?
I don't know. Maybe his kite is really important to him too. I don't think it would have done well in the storm though. He must have put it away somewhere before he went to dig the garden. So upstairs in the RE room, we've been asking a lot of questions this summer about the ways the world works and how we're connected to the world. And today we're going to be talking about, our theme for today is the whole world of outer space, the galaxy. And we are going to be talking about the important value of justice, allowing everyone to be able to dream big and make their own goals for themselves, and the interdependence of how we're all connected, even to the stars and the moon and the sky. So we will be talking about that while Helen has everybody here thinking about a very important question. All right, are we ready to go upstairs? All right.
The ministries of our church are supported by the love, talent, and efforts of our many volunteers and staff, as well as the monetary support of our members and friends. If you have found this church to be of value in your life, then I invite you to be generous, as our morning offering is freely given and gratefully received. If you are on Zoom, you can send a check to the church at 818 Court Street, Lynchburg, Virginia, 24504, or you can contribute using Venmo. There is a link and a QR code on our homepage at uulynchburg.org. We receive these monetary gifts and the gifts of your time, work, and creativity, which also sustain our church, as together we live generously to support our congregation. Let us also commit ourselves to a unity of spirit to make manifest a more just, peaceful, and loving world. Thank you.
It's our tradition. We recognize also the joys and concerns that remain in our hearts and might remain in our hearts for the next foreseeable future until we are ready to share them or not. I also want to lift up concerns for all of the survivors of the flooding in Texas, and for all the other folks, siblings across the planet, that are suffering from the devastation of climate episodes that are likely caused by our human selves. I also want to lift up a prayer for the continued need to stay positive and hopeful in a time of political turmoil and a time in which it's hard sometimes, every day, to see our values lived in and into their fullest. I lift up all of our concerns and our joys, and I know that our community is big enough and strong enough and courageous enough to hold us and everything we bring in our hearts. Blessed be, and amen. Our reading this morning is called I Seek Room for Peace. And it's by Howard Thurman. And it's one of the pieces in his book, Meditations of the Heart. I seek the enlargement of my heart, that there may be room for peace. Already there is room enough for chaos. There is in everyday's experience much that makes for confusion and bewilderment. Often, I do not understand quite how my relations with others become frayed and chaotic. Sometimes this chaos is a positive thing. It means that something new, creative, and whole is beginning to pull together the tattered fragments of my relationships. It's possible that that something new is trying to fashion my relationship into that which delights the spirit and makes glad the heart. Sometimes the chaos is negative, a sign of degeneration in a relationship once meaningful and good. There is room enough for chaos. But the need of my heart is for room for peace. Peace of mind that inspires singleness of purpose. Peace of heart that quiets all fears and uproots all panic. Peace of spirit that filters through all confusions and robs them of their power. These I see now. Now I know that here in this quietness, my life can be infused with peace. Don't leave us. Okay, just checking. Who am I? This question, posed by author Wayne Muller, that's his book, was the source of my exploration with you last week. The who am I question led me to examine the roles we have that are defined by relationships. Daughter, brother, grandparent, partner, supervisor, director, student are all descriptions of a role we might have in relation to someone else. There are, as we talked about last week, or I talked about last week, countless tests we can take that result in descriptions of our personality, our inclinations, and tests that we can take that tell us how we are perceived by others. In addition to all the labels that describe our relationships and our personality, some of the answers to who am I might lie in mining our roles and labels to uncover that which makes us whole. For Muller, this is spiritual identity. If the words spiritual identity don't work for you, translate them into what does, so that you might ponder your true nature, the song that weaves throughout all that makes you, you. Our true nature is not extraordinary. Our true nature is found when we contemplate ourselves in the ordinary. Our nature is accessible to each of us when we take time to feel and listen to our own voice. So, and to what end might we engage in this task of self-reflection? According to Muller, we do this to uncover our purpose. Purpose? Okay, wait a minute. I need to back up. Purpose? Why should I have a purpose? Do I have to have a purpose? Who says I should have a purpose? Do I care if I have a purpose? What if I have more than one? What if I have many purposes? Purpose-I? And what if I don't? Isn't getting the laundry done sufficient? Why all this pressure? I don't have time for all this self-exploration. Okay, y'all, I cannot resist. I had to ask myself the question, what is the purpose of having a purpose? Thank you. So I went down this existential rabbit hole, and you know me now, I think well enough to know that what I did was I looked in books on theology and books on philosophy. I searched for definitions, I read more books, and of course, I Googled. As is usual for me, I went straight into my head. I engaged the parts of me that are my go-to ways of engaging with tough questions. I used my curiosity and my skills that form me as a student, a learner, a teacher, an academic researcher, and an evidence seeker. What I neglected and needed to see was already in my heart and spirit, not in my head, and not described by others. My heart and spirit need a purpose. It is purpose that brings meaning to my life. Of course, there are jobs and chores and other activities in our lives that have purpose. Take out the trash, do the laundry, gas up the car, shower, get groceries. You get the idea. This is not the kind of purpose we're talking about here. The means to an end. Getting the laundry done is not, in fact, sufficient. Purpose is a spiritual thing, not a book thing. As a hospice chaplain, I have witnessed and held space with patients who are exploring the meaning of their life. I've learned that many of us gain peace in the process of dying by, if we can, giving voice to our memories. In hospice jargon, it's called life review. As we face the certainty of death, we review the memories of our life and identify the people and times that matter to us the most. My observation is that even with patients who don't identify as religious or spiritual, the act of sharing memories is in fact what I might call and describe as spiritual. It's a way to express feelings of purpose, feelings associated with some of the roles we have played, being a parent, being a partner, being a teacher. Remembering the ways we are loved and cared for, the fabulous experiences we had that engendered awe and surprise. So, spiritual identity, the song, the portion of ourselves that is at the center of our humanity, is what we seek. My desire to engage and develop my spiritual identity is why I come to church. It's why I have committed to developing myself as a faith facilitator. Who am I? I am a curious, spiritual seeker. I am curious, spiritual, faithful, agnostic, maybe, like I shared last week, seeker. That's why I'm here with you today, and why I've devoted myself to being in spiritual communities from whom I can learn more about myself and my relations with the universe. At this point, this is my purpose. So, once I pursued and settled my skepticism down, I continued with Muller's 4 questions, which he characterizes as, quote, simple questions that reveal the beauty and meaning of our lives. Please note the use of his word, simple. I've stopped arguing with Muller about purpose, and I'll save arguing with him about whether or not these questions are simple for another day. The next not so simple question to explore is, what do I love? The idea is to identify and nurture the sources of love that fuel our song, the experiences we crave and cherish, and have generative, affective impact on our body. We can feel and embody the presence of peace, joy, humility, honor, kindness, generosity. We intuit and feel whole with what we love. It feels true to our heart, spirit, soul, to our song. Learning what we love is not always pleasant. Sometimes we also learn about what we love through experiences of trauma, sadness, heartbreak, loneliness, and despair. Sometimes our feelings and the embodiment of our difficult experiences reveal what it is that we love. I turn again to my experience serving as a hospice chaplain. A patient shared with me that he was scared he was going to hell, that he was going to go to hell when he died. This patient was bedbound in a facility with no family and was a ward of the state. He told me he believed he was going to hell because his pastor had visited him and told him that he was going to go to hell because he had stopped tithing. Thank you. To the church. This is why I like hanging out with y'all. You get this. This man was in tears and afraid. I was in tears too and mad as heck. My heart still hurts when I remember this visit. There's the emotion. He and I talked for a long time, and I eventually asked him what he might say to God if God were sitting right here, right now, in this very moment, at the end of his bed, sharing in conversation with us. The patient started at first very slowly, tearfully, shy, embarrassed a little. But eventually he was able to say, God, I have been faithful to you all my life. I have sinned on more than one occasion, but I love God and I love church. Over the years, I've prayed every day. Even as a kid, I prayed every day. I have the love of God in my heart. And I paid for the flowers in the sanctuary, I bought food for the kids in Sunday school, and I bought the paint for the building when it needed to be refurbished. Oh, and I sang in the choir. As he told God all the ways he demonstrated his love, the patient's tears subsided, his body relaxed, and eventually he got the giggles, and the two of us were laughing. This experience was a gift. The patient described the breadth of his love for God to God. And I learned more about what I love while witnessing a sibling human come to some resolution and peace. It was lovely. P.S. When I got back to the office and shared this with my supervisor, she had to remind my angry self that calling the pastor out on his really bad theology was likely not a good course of action for me to take. I didn't call the pastor, but it felt really good to let off some steam. What is your purpose? Or, as I prefer, what might your many purposes be? Who am I? What do I love? How do you describe your humanity? The song of your spirit. And what does your humanity, song, and spirit call you to love? My religious home is Unitarian Universalism. Figuratively and conceptually, you, and this is my jam. As a community of faith, we have recently reaffirmed our values and placed love at the center of them. For me, this you assertion helps me envision what I love within and external to my spirit. My faith calls me to express our Unitarian Universalist values of interdependence, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice. Surrounding all of these words and concepts, and the through line for all of them, is love. Love is at the center. It is hard to live into these values. Like my patient, I've been known to sin once in a while. Sometimes these values feel aspirational to me rather than attainable. And yet, I accept the challenge. These values feel true to my spiritual identity, my song, and the words of these values provide me with on-ramps to examine my purpose. Somewhere in the back, we have our UU values on cards. There they are. This is too small for y'all to see, but this is an expression of the UU values that were recently adopted by us as a community of faith. And around the flower, if you want to call it that, are all the words that describe these values that we hold dear. And at the very center is the word love. Take a look at our UU values: interdependency, equity, transformation, pluralism, generosity, and justice, and imagine how they each might engender love, and how they each might speak to love in your spirit, in your song. Think too about how you might embody these values independently as an N of one, and also in community, with family, with church, with other ways in which you live in community. You might just find insight into who you are and what you love. You might find a glimmer of your purpose. May it be so. Please rise in body or in spirit. We are going to sing a familiar hymn, because I couldn't resist it, "This Little Light of Mine." Our service is coming to a close, and we will soon extinguish the flame of our chalice and say words together. But before we do that, we're going to make sure we say au revoir to our Zoomies. Au revoir. Hasta luego. Adios. Please join me in sharing the words we use to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts. Our closing words are from the same reading I shared earlier. I seek the enlargement of my heart that there may be room for peace. Already there is room for chaos. There is in everyday's experience much that makes for confusion and bewilderment. I seek in my heart that which engenders peace. I see this now, and I know that here in the quietness of my heart, my life and my spirit can be infused with peace. Blessed be, and may it be so.